Jim Chalmers, thanks for your time.
Hi, Leigh.
You've said previously that Labor would like to support the government's stimulus package. In a nutshell, can you tell me what do you think are the elements that it would need for Labor to back it?
You're right, Leigh. We want to be as constructive as possible because the best outcome here is that we get Australian workers and businesses and communities through a very tough period. What we'll be looking for is that the size of the package, the speed of the package is appropriate. We'll want to know that we're getting maximum bang for buck, that workers and businesses and communities are being supported, but also we want to see some of the longer term challenges in the economy which have been apparent for some time. We want to see them dealt with as well.
When you say size, what do you think would be an appropriate size?
Well, I'd like to see what the Treasury advice is, and I'd like to see what the government comes forward with before we come to a concluded view. But clearly it needs to be substantial. As we've heard from the Reserve Bank and from the Treasury Secretary, the impact of this coronavirus on the economy will be significant. We don't yet know how significant, but it certainly warrants a proper response from the government, something which is big enough and fast enough to do the job.
Do you think that the stimulus package should include direct assistance to individual households as well as business?
Well, there's many ways that you can do that, Leigh. I mean, in short, it needs to support workers and employers. It needs to be targeted to where it can do the most good. There are a range of ways where you can boost, disposable income, for example. So we've said many times before and for some months that there's a case to be made to look at New Start, because every dollar of a New Start rise would find its way into the shops and businesses of this country. So that's an option to boost household disposable income, but there are other options as well in the tax system.
You were a senior advisor to the Treasurer during the global financial crisis. What lessons do you think you learned, including mistakes from that period, that you think are relevant now?
Look, I think overwhelmingly Australians should be really proud of what they achieved together under that Labor government during the global financial crisis, averting recession, saving hundreds of thousands of jobs, something which is admired the world over.
It was an invitation to share some lessons, not to spruik Labor's credentials.
Well, I think it's something that we should be proud of, and clearly no policy of that size is entirely, without problems, and clearly we've expressed many times our regrets, for example, of what happened in the
What are your lessons, though, that could be applied to today?
Well, you need to get in fast enough and it needs to be substantial enough. And one of the things about the early 90s recession, the last time Australia didn't avoid recession, was that the stimulus kicked in too late. We avoided that mistake in 2009 and 2010, around that period. And what that meant is we could get the assistance out the door. And one of the concerns I do have, Leigh, is that the government has been dragging its feet for some time now on the economy. Some of these challenges have been around for a long time. We want to make sure that the package that they announce is big enough and fast enough to save jobs in the economy. Let
me ask you a first principles question. I presume that you think it's responsible economic management to sometimes run a budget surplus and to sometimes run a budget deficit.
Yes, I do.
So if the government does go into deficit, I presume also that Labor won't complain about that, given that you yourselves ran deficits when you were in government, and you have just said that you think the economy requires a big stimulus package.
Yeah, we think the highest priority, Leigh, is to support workers and businesses and communities. That's the highest priority in economic policy.
So you won't go on the political attack of the government if they post a deficit?
Well, the point that we make about the surplus and the deficit they look like that they're heading towards, is that that's a test that they asked to be judged on. That wasn't a test that we applied to them. And we didn't print the mugs. They went to the election saying, this is what you should judge us on, and they'll be judged on it.
Yeah, but you're making a political argument there, and what I'm asking you about is, if they do economically the right thing, why should you attack them for that politically?
Well, I've already answered that part of your question, Leigh, and said the highest priority should be supporting the economy. We've made that clear. We've made that clear in the context of the bushfires as well, and certainly now that the coronavirus is exacerbating some of the challenges that have been in the economy for some time. That's the highest priority, but I think it is equally true when the government spent a long time wandering around saying the budget's back in black and the economy's back on track. They should pay a political price for neither of those things being true now. Even when all of the rhetoric that they sprayed around during the global financial crisis, they should be held to the same kind of standard that they held us to.
What's your assessment as to whether the Reserve Bank will cut interest rates again?
Well, certainly the market expects there might be one more interest rate cut. We've already had 4 in the last 10 months or so. They're now down at 1/6 of what they were during the depths of the global financial crisis. So they're already extremely low, the lowest that they've ever been. The market expects that there might be one more interest rate cut, whether it's in April or after that. We don't make predictions about the Reserve Bank. We don't tell them what to do, but it's self-evident that a lot of the analysts are expecting one more.
Jim Chalmers, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Leigh.
Hi, I'm Leigh Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.